But what you notice is that one of the things that are not, one of the advantages of a money market mutual fund not listed is safety, right? So if you go back to page 148, which is where the safety is being discussed, you notice when it comes to money market mutual funds, down towards the end of the page, right, it says, although funds and money market mutual funds aren't insured, comma, right? Then it goes on to say, well, you know, they do invest in a lot of government bonds and things like that, so they should still relatively be safe, okay? But they are not insured, okay? So there's no guarantee that basically if the company that you're investing in gets into trouble, that the bank is there, or the government is there to step in and reimburse you, okay? And although they do, it's true, they do invest in very relatively safe instruments with your money, so there's a very high expectancy that you'll be investing and you'll get back the money you put in. Supposedly you invest at $1 per share. Each share that you get is equal to $1, and when you want to take it out, when you redeem the account, you're supposed to get back $1 per share plus whatever interest you got. Okay, but back in 2008, okay, and when we had that big financial crisis, one of the major parts of that financial crisis was the fact that some of the mutual funds broke the buck. Broke the buck, which meant because so many people wanted to pull their money out of the mutual funds, okay, because there was a lot of fear in the investment markets, they couldn't redeem, they couldn't pay back the all the demands fast enough, and therefore some of the mutual fund prices went below $1 a share. So you actually started to lose money on an investment in a money market mutual fund, and there was no government to insure it. Okay, so that was a big problem. Okay, because right now there are about $2.6 trillion of assets in the money market mutual fund industry. Okay, so you're talking about 99 cents instead of $1. You're talking about a 1 penny differential on $2.6 trillion. Okay, that's obviously I think it's $26 billion of losses right there. So it was a really big problem. The government did step in and extend insurance to the money market mutual fund industry. Okay, in unprecedented times, all of a sudden the government stepped in and insured something that they had really no business of insuring, because they wanted to stop a panic in the investment markets. It seemed to have done the trick. The investment markets did settle out. The company were able to restore the buck, $1 per redemption, and the government withdrew the insurance on the money market mutual funds. Okay, and so the question is, basically, what would happen in the future? Because it's not right, that we, and after all, when the government insures something, think about it, right? We the people, right? Isn't it the people who really insure it? Where does the government derive their money, right? If they don't borrow it, they have to tax you to get it, right? So when the government makes the insurance, really, we are sort of, as taxpayers, insuring these entities, okay? And so it's not really, it doesn't make sense, it's not realistic, it's not right for the taxpayers to be insuring the money market industry against their own failures, right? If they make bad investments, why should taxpayers bail them out? So that's something that we really have to straighten out in the future. There's been a lot of proposed legislation about it. And again, the money market mutual fund industry has got a very powerful lobby in Congress, in Washington, and so we'll see what happens. Hopefully there won't be a next time, right, when the buck might be threatened to be broken in the mutual fund industry. So that's money market mutual funds for you. Other types of savings-like investments to discuss on page 144, United States Treasury bills, called T-bills. Okay? Now they're really the macro safe investment, the Treasury bill. Okay? Treasury bills are 1 year or less in duration. Okay, very short term. And here you're actually investing with the United States directly. You're not putting your money in a private company like a bank. right, which has insurance from a federal government agency. Here, you're actually lending money to United States Treasury directly. Okay? And obviously, you're going to have very, very, very low rates of return because this is viewed worldwide as the safest investment in the world. Okay? Why? Because people say, well, if the United States can't pay it back, then that's a preeminent world power, and the world's reserve currency. In other words, all international debts must be settled in dollars, right? Then all is lost. The whole monetary system will be collapsing. Okay, and so in that panic, 2008, 2009, when every investment vehicle was going down, I don't care if it was stocks, or I don't care if it was corporate bonds, or I don't care if it was real estate, and I don't care if it was gold. Okay. Everything was going down. The only investment market that was going up was the United States Treasury market. Okay, because the United States Treasuries, that's where everybody wanted to put their money. They didn't even want to have the intermediary of a private bank because, as I said, Citibank, Bank of America, two very large and prestigious banks, they were on the verge of collapse in the 2008 financial crisis. So, everybody wanted Treasury bills, and what we're going to talk about when we talk about bonds and the investing portion of the course, Treasury notes and Treasury bonds, they're longer than a year in duration. Okay, so very low interest on Treasury bills, very high safety when it comes to the Treasury bills. You're investing directly with the federal United States government. Okay. So there you have that. They talk about U.S. savings bonds in the chapter. I don't think this is the appropriate time to do it because those are more long-term in nature, not really monetary assets. Again, very highly safe. We'll talk about that topic, U.S. savings bonds, and the future chapter, chapter 13, when we talk about bond investing as an alternative to bond investing. So stay tuned for that exciting discussion. What else do I want to talk about? Certainly, we should talk about checking accounts, the other side of things, over on page 140. Okay, and in checking accounts, here you're not investing or parking your money just for safety and a rate of return as you would in a savings account. Okay, expecting the money to be there for the proverbial rainy day, right? Having those cash reserves we talked about way back in chapter 2. Okay, it's about checking account. You're looking for a means or alternative way to pay your bills. Right? That's what it's all about, right? And to have it in a way that's convenient and safer than carrying around wads of cash in your pocket. Because as you know, once that is lost or stolen, it's gone, right? But having a checking account is more safe than that. Well, for it's more convenient than that, right? Because instead of having $1,000 of cash, a nice chunk of paper in your pocket or your wallet, you have a check, a very thin piece of paper that basically you just put $1,000 on it, right? And there it is. So basically, that's one of the conveniences of having a check versus having to walk around with cash. But there's the safety element too. The fact that when you open up a checking account with a bank, okay, you've got several different types of relationships going on at the same time. One, you're lending your money to the bank, just like a savings account. You're putting your money in. The bank's going to use that money, and they're going to loan it out, okay? And basically, they're going to give it back when you want them to, okay? And how do you ask your money back? Ask your money back generally by writing the check. Writing the check, because a bank has promised you that they will pay whomever you designate on that check. Okay? That's another relationship you've got with the bank. They will be your payer. Okay, so that's the second relationship. Okay. Third relationship is if you bring a check from another bank made out to your name or made out to cash. Okay, they will represent you they will be your agent and collect on the funds from that other bank, okay? So let's say you have a checking account with Citibank, okay, and you render a service for somebody else, and they give you a check, okay, from the J.P. Morgan Chase, okay. You can take that check made out to you, or made out to cash, to Citibank. No, it's a Chase check to Citibank, and Citibank will collect the cash from Chase as your agent and credit your account for the collection, okay? So there are multiple relationships going on here between you and the bank when you have a checking account, okay? Convenience, safety, also federally insured up to $250,000, right, per depositor, okay, per bank. So that's a nice little thing there too. Okay, so basically, you want to make sure when you look at checking accounts, you're looking at things like you want to make sure that fees are minimized when it comes to checking accounts. This starts on page 148, reads on to 149. Okay, some banks like to charge a maintenance fee for having an account. Other banks will charge you every time you write a check. And you want to minimize. It's banking business is a very competitive business, right? You're probably going to get close to 0% of interest. Probably not going to pay you much of any interest. If they do pay you interest, it's going to want you to maintain a monthly minimum balance. So you're not looking at a checking account to make money on it, right? You're looking at it so that you have a means to pay your bills that's convenient and safe, right? So you want to really minimize the cost associated with that account. Okay. Some other aspects of a checking account you might want to have. You have to remember that you can't write checks, right, for an amount more than you have on deposit. Okay? If you do, then of course you have what's going to be known as a bounced check. In other words, the bank is only